Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram Language Design Review, part of our series for version 15. We are talking about data models for time and event. Is it for time and event series or is it for categorical data here?
It's an event series. Categorical
Okay.
data is there at the end, if we have time. Um,
Okay.
so we looked at most of this section, and then there is the next section with updates. Um,
This section here?
yes, so this is the section for things to look at, and then the previous is what we looked at in the previous two meetings, in
Okay.
case we need to go back to that.
Okay. Is this the
So
generic basic example or is this a specific data dependent?
So this is an example of the new distribution of components. You suggested that we have it in a grid like that.
Yes.
And it has duration and length. So this is for the date, so the duration comes with units. And here, this is the icon that has, plot of three first components, the three first numeric components.
Okay. But that's a genuine plot. That's not intended to be just
It's
iconography.
I do subsampling, so I don't want to plot everything because then it's heavy. So I do subsampling, so it's somewhat representation of the data itself, yes.
What happened with all the overprint here? That
So
looks like just
that's
a bug.
being added, I'm told, to the build today. So if you go to the first example and open it, I think that should work better.
Which first example?
The very first basic example. If you click on the plus and then preview,
It
that's
beeps
how
for
it
me.
should look.
Yeah, I made a beep. I mean, if it's going to have that resize thumb, it better actually resize.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if that's not working, I'll look into it.
Yep, it's not working.
Okay.
Um, that's quite lovely, but it should have a resize.
Okay.
The dot dot dot.
Right.
It's a bit silly to use a whole line for dot dot dot.
Right. So we discussed this earlier today, and so the idea would be to put it in the last, on the
Yeah.
last element in the last row
Well,
if there are more.
Why not do the last element paren blah 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 total in
Oh,
gray?
mm-hmm.
That's what we usually do for those kinds of things. Make sense?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um,
So now these are the large keys, and so the question is whether do we want
How do you see the
number
of keys?
that's what I just said, Roger.
to put it in the last placement,
Okay.
Yeah,
kind of
paren blah blah blah.
indicate.
But
Mhm.
it's not there now.
No, it's
No,
not.
no, no.
But we imagine that if there are just three keys, you can count. I mean, if you care, you don't really typically know. If you see visually, it's this number of keys, three lines of keys or something. It's like, okay, that's fine. But if it's like you max out what we're displaying, then you might want to know, oh, there's 712 keys or something. Make sense?
Yeah.
I think we have a way of doing paren such and such total. Um, you know, elsewhere. Um, okay.
Dataset have something?
Information is something like that. If you do like information of plot, there's a bunch of options, and so it
Oh, there we go.
options
Paren
there.
68 total. Yeah, dot 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 68 total.
And it has the opener if you really want to see them. But yeah, could do something similar.
I don't think you need that. I mean, if you want to know what keys there are, you just ask for keys. I think graphically, this could be, there's a little bit of kind of this is too close versus the whatever. I don't completely know whether it's worth columnizing them like this. I mean, I'm kind of thinking we might just be able to go, but, comma, whatever,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
then dot,
mm-hmm.
dot, dot, such and such a number total. And I don't think we need as many lines as this.
Right. So that's what I was also thinking, because if you scroll a bit down, I think that you know, these are the random words, because that's the best kind of randomizer. But if we have, you know, ABCs, then then it becomes very, like
Why don't we just put
just put
either
them
comment?
maybe.
Do we have anybody from design here? Graphic design?
Yeah, I'm here. I
Mhm.
think Billy's here.
Okay, great. So, we could either have bullets or we could have commas between these things.
And just do inline flowing until
That's what I'm thinking.
a certain limit.
Just for 2 lines or something. I mean, really,
Okay.
if you don't, if you max out 2 lines and there's 68 things total, you're good.
I think, yeah, 2 lines, because we don't want to go too vertical, right, in the space. So
Yeah,
I
right.
think,
So we
yeah,
just 2 lines with commas between, or should we use commas or bullets or what?
Gray commas would be nice.
Okay, fine.
commas.
And then I
Okay.
think keys should align top, not center.
Working on that, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
We
good.
need to ask questions, but yes, that's
Okay,
the idea. Mhm.
right. What's next? Lots of sparse array. Wait a minute, what's this? Oh. Okay. I mean, fine. I think the thing we've invented
We're
is
just
fine.
looking at different boxes.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Mhm.
Be nice if elements indented here. Wasn't totally left.
That's a thing for somebody different from the people in this meeting. But
Okay.
we can take that. Can somebody take that, please? Is that Rob? Somebody who would deal with that?
Okay, I pass it along.
Yeah, probably Itai.
Probably Itai.
Okay. Project the date to the granularity of the time series instead of averaging.
Yes, so this is something we discussed in the previous meeting, and we have been thinking about it, and we believe it's problematic. So we have here a few reasons why.
Okay, so let me understand what the issue is. The issue is I've got a time series, it's got a bunch of data points. I ask for a value someplace that isn't at one of those data points.
Exactly, and it has a granularity which is larger than that natural to the time series.
What has a granularity? The thing you asked for.
Yes.
Exactly.
Let's say you ask for something with a day granularity.
Okay, but let's imagine that I've got kind of the an annual result on the population of an island or something, right? And then I ask, what was the population on August 1st? And what should I get? Should I get the year granularity population at the end of the year? I think yes, because we have no idea what it was on August 1st, because it might have been, there might have been a big influx of tourists on August 1st or something,
No,
So-
what you'll get depends on the resampling for that. So you have a point, which is at August 1st, and then we try to sample that, and
I see.
if it's
Okay,
linearly
what is the default
interpolated,
resampling?
linear interpolation.
Okay, so what's this case here? This case here is I
So
ask
this is
for
the
thing
opposite.
for a
So this is the opposite.
century.
Exactly. Imagine that you have values for years and you want the value for a century.
Okay. So what are you proposing that it do?
So what we propose is to have the behavior that much of the dates framework has, which is that when you have a granularity which is too large, we just project to the beginning of that granularity.
I don't agree with this. I mean, look, if you just told me that we're doing this high wire active resampling when you ask for a low granularity thing, a lower than the time series content granularity thing, I think we just have to do sort of
Actually,
the inverse.
I misspoke
No,
on that,
no, no,
Stephen.
no. We don't
So
resample. We
I
interpolate.
misspoke on that. I'm sorry. So what we do is we coerce to that. So we check to see if the timestamp is in that year, and then we use the value associated with that year.
So
I see. So it's not, in fact,
so
what
the
you
point
said.
is, yeah,
No,
if the granularity it's a year, then everything within this year will be constant. So if you ask for January, February, it's gonna be kept constant. what I think Rob would meant, if you have at the beginning of the year and then the next, year dates, then you will interpolate, but that would be a different granularities. So for the fact that we think that the value, if the value has a timestamp with some kind of granularity, we think that this value is fixed within this granularity, right? Because you don't know anything. So if the value is for a month,
Yeah, I got it. I got it. But what happens?
So
Okay,
that's what's going on. It's just being held, and so
I got it. But
Mhm.
let me ask a different question.
Okay.
You've got values for the 1st, 7th, 18th of the month. Now I ask with granularity 1 day, okay? But it's a time series. Now I ask for the 11th of the month or something. What do I get? Is that the linear interpolation or is that something different?
If you have values for the 1st and 17th and ask for the 11th and everything is granularity of a day, you're gonna get interpolation. Yes.
Okay, fine.
Mhm.
All right. So that case is interpolated. So we've got several cases. We've got the case
Mhm.
where you are asking for a subgranular piece of a data point, in which case you just get the original data point.
Or just different. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it might be the right well,
No,
No,
it's exactly what
no,
Steven said. If it's
no,
a,
you're
if
right.
it's,
It's exactly
yeah.
what Steven says. That's how granularity works. Yes.
right. Okay. So now let's go the other way around. Now you've got your query is for a fuzzier granularity than the data, and potentially there are 18 data points inside the granularity you ask for. In other words, in that year, your granularity, your query granularity is 1 year, but
Mhm.
there are 18 specific daily values within that year.
Right.
The question is, what do you get?
Right.
And I would
Exactly.
argue that insofar as we are already doing the high wire act of linear interpolation, we should be doing a similarly high wire act here.
Yes, but what if those values are not numbers but strings?
Well, then we can't do it, can we? I mean, of course, what do we do with linear interpolation when they're strings? We can't do it, can we?
We do constant interpolation.
We do constant interpolation.
So you're
That's
pinning
what
it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
you're
what we've
pinning it
said.
to the
So
start.
everything that's non-numeric. Okay.
I get it, Roger, but I'm asking this question, okay? We've got string values at the 1st and 17th of the month. Okay.
Mhm.
Now we ask for the string value at the 11th of the month. Do we go to the closest string, namely the 17th, or do we go to the previous?
Yeah, it's constant interpolation, the previous.
So by default, it's gonna be previous because it's held from the left because we're moving in time. You can specify nearest as your
I see. Okay,
interpolation
fine.
method.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So held from the left is the default. Okay. So now we've got our 7 data points at particular days within the year, right? And then we are asking, what is the value for the whole year, right? So one possibility is we could say, I mean, I don't know. I don't see what we say other than some kind of average, if we can average. If they're strings, we're toast. We either have to give the first one or the last one. I don't know what the most obvious thing to do is there. Probably the most consistent thing to do is to give the first one. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yes, the first one is most consistent.
Yes.
Okay. All right. If they are numerical, I strongly think we should average. Strongly think we should average. This is a real case. I mean, you want to know the monthly average temperature. Just ask, January, February, March. I mean, we do this already in Wolfram Alpha. We do that kind of averaging. It's an absolutely very useful thing to do. We've got daily temperature data. You say, what's the June average? What's the June temperature? Okay, give me the average.
Well, we certainly need ways to find that average, and there may be different ways of making
There are
that
different ways
average.
to do it. So that date thing is a very particular window, like it's a month or a year or a week. Whereas we've got things like mean filter and moving map that are you you find it locally around any point,
Okay.
say the
Look,
nearest week.
I got it. But The default is to use linear interpolation in the case where we have numerical data and you're hitting between data points. I believe that similarly, the default should be to use arithmetic mean of the data points we have. And yes, you could do a million fancier things, but just like linear interpolation is not going to be correct, most of the time, I think that the average is the most reasonable thing to do.
So you want
And will
the
be
arithmetic mean versus the integrated mean, which is easier
Well,
to compute.
let me ponder that question. So if you have a cluster of data points in January, and then you have another one in August, do you weight every data point in January the same as you weight the data point in August? That's the question, right?
Mhm.
I admit that I think it'd be nicer to uh, um, 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 it would be nicer to do the sort of the weighted one. How do we do the weighting? Is it held from the left weighting?
Well, we do time series, you do time series integral, which we talked about last time.
Yes, but is
So
that
it's
held
just
from the left or not? So in other words, you've got January, 5 data points in January, okay?
Yeah.
Those data points go, let's say they have value 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. They're all ones. Okay, the
Yeah.
data point in August has value 8, let's say. Okay? Not completely randomly. Okay? Then the question is the integral, is the distance from the last January data point to the August data point, is it that you assume the value of the function is 1 between January and August and then jumps to 8 in August, or do you do something different?
No, we typically use extrapolation outside of the interval of the dates that are given.
But what does that do? Extrapolation.
Linear extrapolation?
Linear extrapolation, yeah.
That seems bonkers. That seems fraught with difficulty. In many, many cases, fraught with
Well,
difficulty.
we could use a constant hold for this
I think
thing.
we should use a constant hold for all extrapolation. I think if you have a time series and you ask for a value outside of the range of data points, I absolutely think we should not use linear extrapolation. I think that's crazy. I think it's linear extrapolation within the data points and then constant.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I think otherwise none of this, we're never going to get the right answer. But, if there's enough data
That's right.
points let's do something not bonkers, right?
Yeah.
The
Should
next
we?
question is, do we generate a message in those cases? In the extrapolation case, I think we should, just like we do with it. The interpolation doesn't do any extrapolation, does it?
We used to have that message, and it was being found to be quite annoying by users.
Okay, fine.
So we remove. So right now it's quieted by default. There is a way to turn it on.
Okay, but let me ask this question: was it annoying because we were off by an hour, or was it annoying because because you always want to cheat and kind of get extrapolation from what little data you have?
I mean, I think that it was known that if you ask for the time at the times value at the timestamp outside of your support, that it's gonna be extrapolating. And so
Well, yes, if you know you're doing that.
yeah,
But if it's in the middle of a computation and you're about to conclude that, our study shows that all, white elephants, take a bath in the early morning or something, and it turns out, I'm not managing to make my example work, but it turns out that conclusion comes because of linear extrapolation of elephant bathing times that was just complete nonsense because you had no data in that place. I mean, we shouldn't lead people to trouble if we can avoid it. It could be that this is a rounding problem, and that if it's within one granularity or two, that we shouldn't generate a message. But if it's way out,
we didn't have
I think we should.
granularity in the current time series.
Okay, well, fine. But I mean, so that's what I'm saying. I think I speculate that the annoying messages come from, oh, we're just outside the range. Am I making sense?
Yes, but
In my experience, that's the case, not with regard to time series, but with regard to normal interpolation stuff. That
Well,
we
we
get
should
a
look at
result
that.
from ND solve, and then we plot it, and plot is epsilon outside of the
Okay, so can we
domain.
please fix that? That's a good thing to fix for interpolation. Okay, don't give a message if you're only epsilon outside the range. Does that make
Okay,
sense? So I would suggest the same thing for time series. If you're only epsilon and where epsilon is defined, maybe in terms of granularities, maybe absolutely, then don't give a message. Otherwise, do. Does that make sense? Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, fine.
But I think we'll
Okay.
need to have I think we'll want to have an addendum to the resampling method that says what the extrapolation or
Yep.
the
Yes,
outside
Right.
range. I mean, it's
we need
sort of
this.
Oliver's extrapolation handler idea, but it definitely
What does that
needs
mean? What is that?
well, that's for interpolating function to say what to do if it
Yes,
instead of
it sounds like the right thing in
Yeah.
both cases. We have to say, the default. Look, I think the correct default is probably linear interpolation within the range, and hold from left hold, right hold at the outside the range.
So should we
sense?
be should the, should this be should we include a method have an option that would allow to specify different modes of extrapolation?
Of course, yes. But I think the other thing we could do is these local models, right? That you guys have these local kernel model thingies that
Yep.
that's also a very sensible thing to do within the range. Arguably, even more sensible than linear interpolation. What do you guys think? I mean, if it's good enough for plot fit plot, why isn't it good enough for this?
Well, the default for fit plot is a local
Exactly.
fit. No,
Yeah.
it's not a kernel model.
Oh,
It's
I'm
not.
sorry. I'm mistaking what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Local lowness, whatever that thing is called. What is that called?
Low S, yeah.
Low
Or
S.
low S. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think inside the interval, we want something that's going to be very fast. And linear interpolation provides that.
Okay, but is low S also fast?
No, no, because you have to run for each evaluation point, you run a fitting problem.
I see. Okay, but so that should be an option.
And so we actually, in the thing that we produce locally, in order to make it fast, we effectively provide an interpolating function for those results. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because running that, I mean, you could specify it as a method thing that if you want to do it the other way, you can.
Okay, so let's review here what we're proposing. Okay.
I think I don't think it's at least at this time, I think interpolation is really a good method for looking at the data.
Okay, we're going to have linear interpolation within the range, hold with outside the range.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that deals with what we're doing with sort of low granularity, but you didn't hit the place you wanted to hit. With high granularity, there's the question of how the averaging is done. And I think it would be nice to do averaging based on the same method we just described. Do you see what I'm saying? So in other words, what you're doing is you're drawing the function, it's linear interpolation within the range, and hold outside the range, and then you're doing the integral of that function to get the average over that region.
Right.
Does that make sense to people?
So that's the mean value integral. Yeah, so fine. That can be done. Now just realize that this is versus doing the simple thing, it's a huge performance penalty. It's like giving a list, a bunch of list values to some function versus giving a packed array.
I don't understand that statement. I mean, look.
Okay, well, suppose you have a list. So one of the things event time series does, and this is used all the time, is you give it a list of dates and it evaluates that whole list of dates to get the values very quickly. Okay. Now, if that list of dates are a bunch of date objects with different granularity, we have to
Okay,
deal with those.
you're getting yourself very confused. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here, right? So in the event that we have mixed granularity time series, it's going to be complicated. Period. End of story. I
No,
don't
no, no,
care if it's a bit
not
slow.
mixed granularity time series. So a really common thing to do with time series, you have a time series with a bunch of time points in it.
Yes.
And this is used all over in the code. This is where I got huge
All right.
numbers
Okay.
of speed
Okay. What? Yeah.
So I want to evaluate that at a bunch of different times.
Yes.
Okay, and that's going to give me a tabular column. But if I have to do this averaging thing, depending on the granularity of each timestamp, I have to treat each one completely separately.
No, you're not. No, that's nonsense. I'm sorry. Look,
Okay,
assume that the
so
time series is uniform granularity.
the time
Okay.
series is uniform granularity.
Okay.
Yep.
So now I am going to ask you to give me by month the results. Okay. That's again a uniform granularity sequence of questions I'm asking. Right? And
Yeah. So how do you frame that question?
well, you've got the query. The query here is a series of I don't okay. So your issue, wait a minute. This is a very detailed thing. Your issue is that sub value, just a second, that sub value you say can't be a list. Is that true or is that not true?
It can be a list.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's say it's a list of uniform granularity months. Right?
Well, let's say it's a list of non-uniform
I don't
granularity
care
months.
about that case. I
Right.
don't care about that case. That
Okay.
case is a corner case. If that case is slow, so be it. See what I'm saying? The case that we can reasonably expect to be fast and people can reasonably expect to be fast, people are not going to generate programmatically a mixed granularity list very often. Most of the time, the list they generate will be fixed granularity.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm not
Why not?
convinced, but
Why not? Well, I don't
because
care. It doesn't matter. I
I
mean,
see the sort of the inputs we get to various functions, and they're sort of all over the map.
yeah, well, I'm prepared to guess that most of the time it's like I want the monthly temperature data, for example. Not
But
I want a week here, a month there, a quarter there, and so on. I don't believe it. Not large scale data asks. So
there are specific functions like time series window to ask for window values
I
and
know,
things
but
like
we're trying to get the default right. And Rob is making a fuss about the fact that, you know, that it's crazy. No, the default should give something reasonable. And if it's slightly slower to do that, that's okay. You want something that's as sleek as possible, specify something other than the default. But the default should give a sensible answer, not a crazy answer.
it's not that crazy. Sometimes people use, for example, abbreviations of dates. If you know you are working with the beginning of the year, why not just giving the year? And that the functions is interpret the date of the beginning of the year is interpreted. Sorry,
Look,
the year is
the
interpreted
much
as the
more
beginning of the
common
year.
case is going to be give me the monthly temperature data. And then you're just going to get the wrong answer. You're going to silently give people the wrong answer. It's much more common to want to give an average over the month. You know, give me the average price over the last year of the stock or something. I know there are functions for doing that, but the default seems obvious, given that we're already doing a somewhat sinful linear interpolation as the default when we don't have a data point right there. It's correct, and it's a reasonable thing to do, but we are going beyond what's right there in the data. I feel pretty strongly about this. I think this is the right thing to do. And particularly if it can be made efficient when there's a list of dates of the same granularity, it seems great. Any serious objections here?
We try to give.
I don't know what the effect on all of the internal functionality is going to be of changing the entire evaluation model yet. So who knows?
I mean, changing the entire evaluation model.
Well, that's what you're doing here.
Well, I think it's the right thing to do. I think the other thing was just wrong. Roger, can you comment on this, please?
Yeah, I'm trying to think through cases. Clearly, that what you're describing, Stephen, needs to be easy, to get sort of, various averages
There are
out.
examples further down.
There are.
I mean,
So how do we do it now?
yes. So
I
with
mean,
No, I mean, the thing is that if we do this, if we have, here as an example, time series in the days, and we ask for something, for the evaluation at something of granularity of the week, it's kind of coercing the granularity of the week to the granularity of the time series. And the way that it's resolved in the arithmetic right now, it's to find the starting point of
Yeah,
this
you
granular
made it
date.
easier for yourselves in terms of implementation. I do not think it is what users want.
It's also consistency with the system at this point.
No, I understand, but it's not
Mhm.
consistency given that you're doing linear interpolation. And I mean, the bonkers idea of doing linear extrapolation, which is clearly a bad idea. And I mean, it's a little complicated. But this seems like a reasonable default. It's not the thing you're going to want every single time, but it's a reasonable default. It's a non-bonkers default, especially given the linear interpolation default, I claim. I mean, you had a way to do this before, right? The thing we're just describing, there was a way to do it. So that becomes
to average, you mean, over a period?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you see it here. You see it's
see
a mean filter, moving map, time series aggregate, windowing. All these tools
Right.
are to
So,
specify
great.
your window,
Make the most
of the months or
okay,
so.
but we don't have to do that in this case. It's something simpler and more direct. Look, I'm sorry. I just don't think the way it was done before was right. I mean, you can try and argue that it was, I understand it's simpler to implement. I just don't think it's right.
I mean, it wasn't before because we didn't support granularity before. So this is a
Yeah,
new
okay. I just
consideration
don't
with
think
the
it's right.
granularity. Mhm.
I'm sorry. You can make all these arguments about how if you forget to mention the day of the day of the month, you can get the month. That's not going to cut it with weeks. Let's move on.
Okay.
I strongly think this is the right way to do it. Let's just find out. I mean, look, you can come back if it turns out it's just, oh God, it's unimplementable, completely unimplementable. Let us know. But otherwise, I think this is the right way to do it and try and make it. I mean, the linear interpolation is going to be have some costs. So will this. So what? It's comparable
Linear
costs.
interpolation is super cheap. Okay,
Well,
so
I know, but so is this. This is what we're asking for here as well.
No, this is an order of magnitude more expensive than linear interpolation.
Oh, why is that?
Okay, so linear interpolation, you basically
it's local. It needs 2 points.
Two tabular columns and you add them and divide by 2 with the right. We scaled each one, add by, and then divide by, so you scale 2 and add them together.
Yep.
So that's basically 3 operations
so this
per element.
is taking, okay, so what this is doing is however many data points there are within that one granularity bin, you are taking, so is your concern being able to work out the integral correctly with these kinds of
Well, that can be done very fast for machine numbers.
okay, so
Working out the
let's
integral.
imagine a compromise here. Okay. If it was a left hold for every point, or even a straight average of every point, would that make you happier?
It would be faster, but
Okay. Do you think it's enough faster that it's worth kind of, simplifying the model to that? I don't think it's as good as linear interpolation, the integral of linear interpolation.
I
But
think
it
we
may
can
not-
do the integral of linear interpolation just about as fast. I mean, it'll use a compiled library, and if you have big
Okay,
nums
fine.
or whatever, it'll be
Right.
a lot slower.
Okay, so what we're agreeing then is that if it's strings, it's a left hold
Yep.
for the fuzzier ask. If it's numbers, it's linear interpolation plus left right hold extrapolation. Correct?
Yep. And what about expressions like x sub 1, x sub 2? Do we
can
keep
only
that
do
as a left
left
hold?
Left hold for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine we can do anything else there. Okay. Default component keys. What are the default keys in Tabular in general?
In Tabular, we have column 1, column 2.
Okay, and here we're calling that instead, we're calling it
Components.
keys here.
Yes.
For
Component.
short, yeah. For short. Well, put the key to make it shorter, but we call them when describing, we talk about components and then components keys.
Then you know what? I think we should call them components here. And in the new format that we're talking about with, running commas, we're not going to have a problem with that length, with that size.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to be consistent about their components, but I don't quite understand, if I have this time series and then I say of this time series, right? So that time series, what happens if I say keys of that?
Doing column keys.
So the column keys would be for the components. The keys here are referring for the row keys.
Oh, I see. It's a little weird that it's called component and then you get it with column keys.
Yeah.
I kind of think we should just say key 1, key 2, etc., which is what we do in Tabular, right?
We call it column 1, column 2, I think.
Oh, I see. Well, then call it, I mean, the good news is that our preview up here is a column of preview.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm about to change the illustration framework to have them go sideways in the reference pages because it's the natural way to look at the time series. Like when you plot it,
Yes.
you have time going on the x-axis typically. It's rare that the time goes down the vertical.
Except when you're making solid automaton pictures.
Yes.
Which was the right thing to do. I mean, in its time. I admit that it probably originated with line printer output, but it still was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like reading down the page.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You read across and then down.
I would be in favor of key 1, key 2. It's shorter, and then we don't have the problems with the column components, but then also the key by itself, when we go to the tabular, we have the column keys, row keys, so then which key is key? I mean,
yeah, okay. I'd be fine with key 1, key 2. And they are associations if you take them out, right?
mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
That seems very reasonable to say key 1, key 2. And then here, calling that keys seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
Where are they called components then?
We refer to them when we describe the object and we would talk about them.
Because it was weird to call them columns.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
When they were kind of horizontal.
I agree, but okay, they're components, but each component has a key.
Yes.
That's the way to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And even though slightly bizarrely, you have to say column keys to get that list of keys.
Yes, it's slightly bizarrely. Yeah.
Well, we have upgraded all the column functions to work, right? We don't want to repeat all into components, transform columns, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Okay. Next, inherited times.
Well, so that's kind of goes together with the maybe with the previous one that so we have the free argument syntax here. So the third one is to give the new keys for the components, and the challenge would be to have the first argument to represent a full tabular, and this full tabular would also carry the column that we want to interpret as the times. And right now, if with the second argument for the times is automatic, then it would understand the timestamp, starting at 0 and going with integers. So we're thinking that, we would allow the string there, maybe that would be the key from the tabular to, to indicate which column from
I don't
the
understand
input.
why the obvious thing to do isn't tabular arrow time column.
Because
be
we want to, no, because we want to have the free argument input for the new keys. So this is a specific situation where you
Time
want
series
to,
has a second argument where you can
right.
specify the times. So remember when we created time series originally, there was no dates or anything like that. And so we had the sort of simple input forms to create times. And the super common case was regular sampling. So it's like the iterator formats for kind of like
Okay.
date list plot has to. Right? There's a second argument to date list plot, which is less and less important these days because, you know, a lot of data comes with dates now. But early on, that was there. And for legacy reasons, we feel that we need to keep that second argument.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
but
if not, if so, the automatic stands for, you know, the integer time. So either we come up with a new token in place of automatic that would mean look inside this first argument, which is tabular, for the right column that could be understood as times, or maybe just kind of have the specific, you know, time column. But what I was looking for was basically, can I have some other token, not automatic, that would kind of indicate, you know, be a placeholder and a token to say, look for the time column in this tabular input that is given as
I
a first
understand. I mean,
argument.
the second thing here is either a list of times, a list of dates, right?
Yes.
Or just a single list with a single element, which means this the starting point for the iterator. Or
What's
the list.
what's the
Yes.
increment of the iterator?
Depending on what you give, if it's a number that's gonna be integers, or if you give a date, it's gonna go in days.
In days? Well, who knows whether it's days or seconds or minutes or centuries or whatever. I mean, that's silly.
Well, unless
Maybe
it's days. That's
unless it's granularity,
Right.
unless it uses its granularity. Okay, so I'm going to make a suggestion here. Look, I think if there are these cases, if there is a date with granularity, then it starts from that date and goes up with the granularity of the date. Okay. If it is a list of dates, it just uses that list of dates, and if it doesn't fit, it gives an error message.
But Stephen,
this is not the question. This is understood input. Yes, this is
we
already
already have
happening.
syntaxes.
That one
We already
isn't
have it.
understood, right?
no,
The
that
granularity-
is not an understand syntax, that date one, date two. You have to have another list around it
You
to
have to have another
disambiguate.
list of yes.
Why?
Well, because
Backward compatibility.
backward compatibility with
Compatibility.
iterator syntax.
Because you could have a
A
date
single
one,
list
date
means
two.
a date
Yeah.
date min, date max,
Yeah.
delta D.
Okay.
We don't, I don't think this is the time to be changing the way we input times. I mean, my suggestion was instead of automatic, you just put quote timestamp and it'd say, get the time from the timestamp column.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would say.
And
Okay.
I would say if you wanted it to be quote A, you could use quote A and it would do that.
So
Right.
that
And then
So
that's
hold on,
completely
hold on,
unambiguous.
hold on. Wait. We've got these three cases, these three initial cases.
the
if I'm not
date,
mistaken.
the first date needs a strings around too.
No, that's just a day. Look, it's, you know, it's, if it is today, for example, that is a granularity day date. I put it in there. I expect this to go through that, the rows here with, you know, granularity one day incrementing. See what I'm saying? I also think that if you just give a date min, date max, right now we're defaulting to days, correct? But I think what we should do is if date min
No,
and date
if
max,
you just give date min, date max, it is evenly sampled from that date min to that date max.
Mm-hmm.
I see. All right, okay. I mean, it would be better if it was done with granularity, but I think there's an argument that we should give a message if it doesn't match.
You could give the date min automatic and then your granularity. So quantity of one day or quantity of 1 week, and then it's gonna iterate upon your duration of the step.
Where to start then. I would say the way that would work is date min automatic DD.
I think that works too.
Yes, that works. Yes, that's
Right,
what I'm
but then-
saying.
Either
then-
date min or date max can be automatic.
I mean, you can
If
have.
you have
Oh,
a-
I see what you're saying, because it can go backwards. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, fine.
Right.
Fine, but I suggest you don't need the DD if one of them, you could just give this if it has a granularity, right? If date min has a granularity, just use that granularity to step forwards.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we're willing
Yeah,
to
we
deal with
didn't
the
have
backward
that.
incompatibility. I mean, I think that's a much better idea than what it does now.
I mean, that's what
but
it does right now.
no. It sets it as days.
Is it?
No,
Oh,
it shouldn't do that.
Yep.
It shouldn't do that. So let's just not do that. Since we now have date granularities, I don't think we should do that.
Yeah, I thought the whole default of day was nuts when I
Okay, all
tried
right. So
to get the test suite working.
okay, all right, okay. So then the alternative is a column name,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we derive the dates from.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Great. This is wonderful functionality, guys. Okay. I'm just waiting for the day when we have the spatial analog of this, which we sort of have in spatial statistics, but I think we should look at that.
We
design.
don't have it really. It's actually, yeah, we have a little bit of it, but no. We never built the data model there. We did
Let me just suggest that we
the
take another
event
look.
series. We have the analog of event series there, but we don't
Let
have.
me just suggest that we take a look at it again when we have a moment. It
Mhm.
isn't now. It isn't for 15.0.
Right.
Right, because I think we can probably use the design ideas from here, including Tabular,
Right.
to improve spatial statistics greatly.
Yes, I think so too. And then, and also at some point we want to do spatial temporal. So
Yes. Yeah. Well, something for maybe Gosha to think about. She has a chance since she worked on spatial statistics.
I think
Okay.
that using tabular in spatial point data and such would be great. Yes.
yeah,
Right.
that's
I
the
agree.
analog of event
Mhm.
series. Spatial
Mhm.
point data is event
Yeah.
series, basically.
Yes.
The
Yep.
space.
Right. Well, and
Okay.
so the spatial interpolation thing is something different.
Right.
Spatial function or something.
Right. Spatial estimate. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Do we have that now?
Yeah, it's called spatial estimate, and it does
Mhm.
kriging,
Kriging,
which
yeah.
is
Yeah, right.
basically an approximation.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Mhm.
so it's
Right. So spatial estimate is the analog of time series, except it has a more sophisticated interpolation method than
Yes.
time series.
yeah,
does.
it's
Yeah.
basically using the analog of OS.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it assumes that points that are closer
Yeah,
way more to
yeah, that's basically
Right.
what it is.
Mhm.
Right.
Kriging
Well, we
is that. That's the definition of kriging, except people, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Except it's used in terms of some oil, some history with oil
Yeah.
exploration or something.
Yes, with geology, yes. Mhm.
Right. We really should look at that stuff again. I think there might be some pretty low-hanging fruit given the new design we have here that would make spatial statistics much more accessible.
Yes, I think we have a thing we want to do before that, but yes, we'll tee it up.
Mhm.
Okay. Can we make sure it's in the GPL, please? Somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
You should put in, using modern time series ideas in spatial statistics. Okay, do we need to look at this categorical data stuff?
So we reviewed this and you wanted some changes in the syntax. So Nick has implemented all these things. So Nick, can you explain?
Yep. So we got rid of nominal object and we have nominal as a single wrapper. If you don't give it a specific category that you want, it represents all of the categories. If you give it a second argument or a subvalue with one of the categories, it represents that instance of the
Does that seem
category
to
from the
work
scale.
out as you play with things? Does that work out?
It does. It took more work to get it implemented than I initially thought. The main hitch is just if you're going to do something like pattern matching based on the head, you don't really know whether you're looking at the scale or the object. It's not a deal breaker, but it was something, I have
Fine.
internal
An
predicates.
implementation issue, but not conceptual.
Yeah. So
the nominal scale is called nominal, and the nominal object is called nominal.
Yes.
So do we need a predicate then that tells them apart, or
I
how do I
have,
know?
I do have predicates for them. They're
You can't do this. If it has subvalues, you can't say category list there. You can't have that. If what happens is that this thing, you just can't have that. if this means that single object, why is it taking so long? Why did it beep? Why did it crash?
I am unsure.
Okay, but you
might
can't
be,
do that.
I mean, this
To
is
be clear, you can't do that.
we're using the same sub-value method that like tabular column has and tabular uses, where we
You can't
have
do that. You can't mix actual data with, you know, maybe you can do it with one reserved word, but you can't do it with 7 reserved words.
Yeah, we don't have to use this extractor. That's basically what the categorical value function farther down is for. This is just we've had methods here. I continued allowing them.
I wouldn't.
But okay.
I mean, if we're really doing this thing about nominal represents a nominal scale collection, and then the sub-value represents a specific element of that nominal scale, that's how we have to do it.
Okay, yeah, I can remove the methods from there.
Fine.
And there's a couple other things. Nominal scales are orderless, so it doesn't matter what order you give them in. Ordinal scales are.
Is this going to crash again?
It should not.
Well, it crashed once, so.
I was gonna say it shouldn't, but it shouldn't have done it the first time either.
This is a pretty ugly icon.
Yeah, we have a graphic design ticket open. I haven't heard back
Somebody
from
gonna
Jeremy.
work
But
on it?
yep, I believe so.
Do we know what we think it should look like? I mean, that looks like one of those I don't know why it beeped. I think you got a bug with copied with
Yeah, there might be a initialization issue with that one.
No, it beeped again.
Okay.
Does it say why it's beeping? If you
I'll take a look at that example.
The kernel local has quit during the course of an evaluation. It
Okay.
crashed.
Okay.
So I think that's
Okay.
because you have
Can you
repeated
evaluate
values
dollar
here.
version to see which date do you have? That's yesterday. I think this may have been fixed
It was
today.
a bad vintage.
Yeah, it's just it's a slightly older version. I made major updates that got added, and I didn't want to interfere with the meeting yesterday.
Okay. All right. So again, graphic design of both these things and so on. When do we get to see that?
I guess it's a question for Jeremy or Billy.
We've got a ticket, but the ticket didn't have enough details for me to do anything yet. I think if you could help add to that ticket, then I'll have Billy help out with this.
So the basic point is, don't make it look like one of those, optical illusion things there.
Plugs. Yeah, I have a dynamic version of it in the newer version where it gives a number of dis equal to the categories up to a certain point. It's not the most exciting, but it's more.
Okay, but then it should be grayed down and things. It shouldn't be like a big black lob. Makes sense?
It does. I mean, Nick, could you add those notes to the ticket?
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then work with
I'll add notes for Billy.
I'm
on
also
that.
not
And
wild about the color of this puppy here. Looks almost like one of those Labrador puppy things. I don't know.
It's fairly close to entity. We started off with the notion that nominal objects are similar to entities to a certain degree.
And what the heck are ordinal objects? Are flowing water, so they're blue? What the heck?
They were farther away from entities, and that's the color we started with.
I kind of think that these things, boy, what is a metaphor for these things? What other things, Roger or anybody else, what other things do we have that are kind of like this? I mean, they're a little bit like entities, but
I mean, so the way to think about nominal is as tags of things. And the way to think of ordinal is something that is ordered. They're also tags, but they're ordered. So I think maybe ordinal should reflect the order in some sense.
Little arrow feet on them or something.
Maybe. Don't know. I haven't really thought about that at all.
Well, let me give an example. Okay. Ordinal, in
So one thing,
principle,
yeah,
the iconography could reflect that it's on a rail of some kind, although its left and right ends would then have to be done specially.
One
I'm
thing
saying?
that you could do for nominal is to just use like a triangle, a square, and maybe just a few different shapes, finite number of different shapes, because that's what you'd use, a finite number of different tags.
I think
Okay.
it will get super confusing.
Okay.
I mean, I also thought of there's somewhat similar. There's an
Okay,
order.
I have
There's a
a
relationship somewhat similar to the nodes in a tree or in a
Okay,
graph.
I have a suggestion. Okay, my suggestion is that somehow there's sort of little gray dots above or below this thing. 3 little gray dots here,
Hmm.
and in this one there's some little gray arrowy thing.
Okay.
Maybe. But I would think that color is not all that useful for these. I would think this should be, if not, it should be some kind of slightly tinged gray
Mhm.
and quite light, almost white. A little tinged gray with
For both, the same shade for both?
what's that?
For both, nominal and ordinal, the same
Yeah.
color? Yeah, okay.
Just have different icons or different.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know how to get to this. I guess I'm just very light amount of color. Sort of off-white. And maybe it's part of the frame is this kind of dotting or arrow-ishing thing. I mean, I feel like ordinal I wonder whether the nominal, maybe this is too precious. But nominal, I was thinking its 4 corners could be dots of some kind. Whereas ordinal, it could have its dots arranged at the bottom.
Hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying at least?
Yeah, where there are other members of the class, but they're not directly ordered with nominal. But if they're lined up, the dots are in sequence for ordinal, it implies a sequence.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But the dots are
This
not
this
too
might not make
disruptive.
sense, but one suggestion might be if we actually do know the order, could we put a little number underneath the ordinal one that says which
Yeah, that
place
would be
they are
nice.
in?
Yeah,
Do
we
we
could.
do know the order, don't we?
Yep. Yeah. Ordinal, it always has an order, even if you don't give it, it just assumes it starts indexed at 1. So,
And then at that point, if they're just both that same gray color, if there's no number there, it's nominal. And if there is a number, it's ordinal.
It's a reasonable idea.
okay.
Let me think about that for a second. It might get a little too precious. Roger, can you comment on that? I mean, the thing that worries me.
I really don't know. I kind of feel that I think we're gonna have to go around it one more. We can try this idea, but then go around probably.
Right. My only concern
yeah.
about the numbers is this, that the actual scale could be numbers, right?
Mhm.
Like it's if the actual scale is, A through F or something, and
I see what you're saying. How about just like first, second?
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Like for the number underneath, if you say first, then that indicates that it's kind of first in the ordinal list rather than
So you don't have to
one,
spell
a
out
one.
FIRST.
No, like 1 with ST as a suffix. Like
That's not
first,
bad.
1
Not
with
bad.
an
That's not
ST. Yeah.
I think it's very hard to do I mean, so we're talking about 3 levels of over
I've got a
underscript.
suggestion. I like this idea of Sean's I mean, I'm thinking in the corner, maybe you put the number in the bottom left-hand corner as a little gray thing. 1, 2, 3. I think that might work nicely. Jeremy, your comments?
What if
How high
there's
do we expect these to go up to?
right? If there are many of them,
10.
and how big the number is? I
Yeah.
mean, do you expect this to be readable?
If it's 700 levels of ordinal scale, it will not be readable, and we can just drop it. We can just have a gray dot there. I would even say beyond 10, beyond 9, we have a gray dot.
Yeah, I think a
Or
line into a
even
dot
just
helps.
or like nth. If you're going to do first
I
and
don't think
second,
I
but
don't even need
nth.
that.
But if it's
I
just a
don't
number,
think
then yeah.
the stud
Mhm.
is going to
Yeah,
help.
okay.
Two comments. One, I like the idea of as simple a design for these as possible. I like if I was doing this, they would have a border and a light background similar to entities. It'd just be more muted than entities. Two, for ordinal, you could do, I think the numbers will be overbearing, even if we make them small and gray. But if you wanted something subtle, you could, go with the dot approach, but have the dot go from the bottom left corner to the top right corner, depending on its order.
Just 1 second. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say that again, please.
I was saying that for ordinal, if you go the dot approach, you could have the dot progress, say along the
I see,
bottom
I
or
see.
along the top
I
according to its
see.
order.
That's not a bad idea too. Let's try that as well. And if there's no dot, I mean, you could have a gray bar at the bottom and the dot somewhere along the gray bar.
As a percentage of total?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
not a bad idea.
Right, and then as you say, if there's no dot, then it's nominal.
Yep. That's actually, I think that's a good idea. Okay, so given that iconography, we're going to have to determine this iconography as well. This iconography has got to agree with that iconography. So I think if we're going with that kind of iconography, we're going to want, well, we could have a series of those bars going down. See what I'm saying? Series of the gray bars with their positions going down.
If there's only 3, then it's pretty simple. If it's a bunch of them, then
then we don't
cut it
show all
off.
of them.
Yep.
Or we have a dot, 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 vertical dot, dot, dot. Okay, what else do we have to figure out here? We're going to run out of time. More that we have to figure out here.
No, this is basically what we had looked at before. Categorical value is an updated version. We used to have a 2 categorical and from categorical. We kind of got rid of 2 categorical by just having the scale. Categorical value is basically an analog of date value or entity value. This is where you'd be able to look up properties.
Yeah, I like it.
And then there's a quick note at the bottom, just there's tabular column types of ordinal and nominal that line up. Just want to make sure you don't hate the way the element type looks. Basically, it has a nominal head, and then it has the nominal scale inside it, which is what it needs to reconstruct.
Where am I seeing this?
The element. Oh, this example isn't going to work because it's the wrong build. But so the TC element type, most of the way up your screen, where it's type specifier of nominal and then nominal inside of that. So right above that example.
I see. I'm not used to reading these.
Yeah. So that's basically what the column type would be, is it's type nominal, and then the parameters are the nominal scale that has the info it needs to reconstruct it.
I see. As opposed to like the innards of the nominal scale.
Yes, I could shove an association that has all the info in there, but it would be much heavier visually.
I think it's not necessary. I think this is reasonable. I mean, the only question is whether it's going to turn out that this nominal, the disembodied nominal scale should maybe not have that whole head thing. It should just be I don't know. Because I mean, clearly that once you get an individual nominal element, it's just the thing without a big nominal head. But probably this is right. For the actual nominal scale, the whole nominal scale, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, we wanted differentiation visually, that it is a collection of possibilities versus a single choice from that collection. So
yeah, I get it. I mean, okay, I don't know whether it's going to muddy things up to have this whole nominal brackets, whatever, all over the place, or whether that's not a big deal.
Okay.
Okay. Is that everything? I think so. Lovely
Yes.
functionality. Looking forward to seeing this in full production.
Okay, thank you, everybody.